You've been asking God, why did this happen to me? Why did they leave me? Why did that door close? Why did I have to cry those tears? But what if I told you it had to happen? Every tear, every heartbreak, every disappointment, it wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to develop you. Sometimes God will let the storm rage, not to break you, but to build you. He'll let you walk through the fire, not to burn you, but to brand you with purpose. Because what He's preparing you for is bigger than what you lost. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and say, if that hadn't happened, if they hadn't walked away, if that door hadn't shut, if that season hadn't ended, I wouldn't be where I am today. It had to happen because God was shaping your destiny, even through your disappointment. We praise Him for the blessings, but can you praise Him for the breaking? We thank Him for the open doors, but can you thank Him for the ones He closed? Because some of those doors weren't closing to keep you out. They were closing to keep you safe. Sometimes rejection is really redirection. God never wastes pain. Every tear you've cried, He collected it. Every lonely night, He saw it. Every setback, He measured it. And He said, I can use that. Because while you were crying about what you lost, He was working on what you were about to become. Ask Joseph. He was betrayed, thrown in a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in a prison. But every pit, every prison was just a step closer to the palace. If Joseph hadn't been betrayed, he never would have been positioned to save a nation. It had to happen. Ask Job. He lost everything: his health, his wealth, his family. But when God restored him, He gave him double for his trouble. Because even when Job couldn't trace God's hand, he still trusted God's heart. It had to happen. And maybe that's your story. Maybe you're in that middle place, between the pain and the promise, between what you lost and what you've yet to see. But don't you give up now. Don't you quit in the middle of the process. God is not finished with you yet. The same God who allowed the storm will use that storm to strengthen you. The same tears you cried in private will become the testimony you share in public. You're not being buried. You're being planted. And when the season is right, you're going to come up stronger, wiser, and more anointed than you've ever been. So thank Him for the pain. Thank Him for the process. Thank Him for the people who walked away. Because what looked like loss was actually launch. It had to happen, not to punish you, but to position you. Not to destroy you, but to develop you. Not to break you down, but to build you up. You've been crushed, but you're still called. You've been pressed, but you're still chosen. And when you come out of this, you won't look like what you've been through, because it had to happen so that God could bring out of you everything He placed inside of you. You've been asking God, why did this happen to me? Why did they leave me? Why did that door close? Why did my heart have to break like that? But what if I told you it had to happen? You see, some things in life will never make sense while you're standing in them. You cry, you pray, you fast, you do everything you know to do, and still it hurts. But God said, I'm not trying to hurt you, I'm trying to shape you. Because when God gets ready to elevate you, He doesn't start with comfort. He starts with disruption. He shakes you loose from people, places, and patterns that can't go where he's taking you. So don't misread the pain. Don't curse the shaking. You're not falling apart. You're being repositioned. You thought that betrayal was the end, but God said, no, that was the beginning. You thought that heartbreak would break you, but God said, no, that's how I'm going to heal you. You thought that closed door was rejection, but God said, no, I'm redirecting you. It had to happen. Every tear that hit your pillow was watering the soil of your destiny. Every sleepless night was a rehearsal for the strength you're about to walk in. Every lonely season was preparing you to stand on your own 2 feet and declare, if God be for me, who can be against me? Sometimes God will let the storm rage, not to destroy you, but to define you. Because you can't discover who you are until life hits you hard enough to reveal it. Diamonds are made under pressure. Gold is refined in fire. And purpose, real purpose, is birthed in pain. We love to shout about the promise, but we don't like to talk about the process. We want resurrection, but we don't want crucifixion. We want the crown, but not the cross. But God said, before I raise you, I have to break you. Before I release you, I have to refine you. It had to happen. Because if you never cried, you wouldn't have compassion. If you never failed, you wouldn't have wisdom. If you never lost, you wouldn't appreciate victory. If you never walked alone, you wouldn't know that God will never leave you nor forsake you. You've been asking God to increase your faith, and sometimes He answers that prayer by removing everything you thought you needed, so that you'd learn to depend on Him alone, because faith that's never tested is faith that can't be trusted. Oh, I know it hurts. I know you didn't expect them to walk away. I know you didn't think it would turn out like this. But sometimes God will let people exit your life quietly because their presence was suffocating your potential. You keep chasing after what God's already dismissed, and He's saying, let it go. It had to happen. He's pruning you, cutting back what no longer bears fruit, so that you can grow stronger. And pruning always feels like loss, but in the kingdom of God, cutting is cultivating. When He takes something away, it's not subtraction, it's preparation for multiplication. Joseph understood this. Sold by his brothers, thrown into a pit, falsely accused, locked in a prison. But every pit prepared him for the palace. Every lie pushed him closer to purpose. When his brothers stood before him years later, Joseph didn't say, you ruined me. He said, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Because Joseph learned it had to happen, and that's what God is trying to show you, that your pit wasn't punishment, it was positioning. That betrayal wasn't betrayal, it was breakthrough. That storm wasn't meant to drown you, it was meant to develop you. If you could see what God sees, you'd understand that nothing you've gone through will be wasted. He's the kind of God who takes broken pieces and builds beautiful things. He's the kind of God who takes your pain and turns it into power. He's the kind of God who takes your worst season and uses it to introduce your best one. So stop mourning what He's moved. Stop trying to resurrect what He's already crucified. You're standing in the middle of a divine exchange. What you thought was lost was actually God making room for more. You see, God had to let some people walk away so you could finally walk into yourself. He had to let that job fall through so you'd discover your calling. He had to let that door close so you'd stop knocking on places that can't hold you. When you pray for God to use you, don't be surprised when He starts pruning you, because He can't fill hands that are already full. He can't pour new wine into old wineskins. He can't give you the next level if you're still holding on to the last one. You're crying about what you lost, but heaven is celebrating what's about to be birthed. God is saying, if you only knew what I was setting up behind the scenes, you'd stop complaining and start praising. The enemy thought that the breakup, the breakdown, the betrayal would stop you. But it didn't stop you, it strengthened you. And that's why you're still here. Because even though it hurt, it didn't destroy you. Even though you were crushed, you were not consumed. Even though you were pressed on every side, there was still a yes in your spirit that said, I will not quit. It had to happen. Because God said, I'm not just giving you blessings, I'm giving you backbone. I'm not just giving you favor, I'm giving you faith. I'm not just giving you gifts, I'm giving you grit. Sometimes you don't realize how strong you are until strong is the only thing you have left. And God will use those seasons, those silent, painful, uncertain seasons, to show you that what's inside you is greater than what's against you. So don't you dare give up in the middle of the process. Don't you dare walk away when the pain peaks. Because just when it hurts the most, that's when heaven starts moving. The breaking comes before the blessing. The pain always comes before the power. The shaking always comes before the shifting. It had to happen. You've come too far to give up now. Everything you've been through was a setup for what's about to come. The nights you spent crying were not wasted. They were invested. Every tear was a seed, and God never forgets a seed. He knows how to bring a harvest out of hurt. When it feels like everything familiar has fallen away, that's when the real transformation begins. Because faith is not built in calm waters. It's forged in the storm. You don't learn who God is when everything's working. You learn who He is when nothing makes sense. When the door closes and you have no plan B, that's when you find out He was plan A all along. Sometimes the greatest gift God gives you is an ending. Endings create room for beginnings. The very thing you thought was over is often where He starts something new. Don't mistake silence for absence. Just because you can't feel Him doesn't mean He's not working. He's the kind of God who hides in the details, weaving redemption into the very fabric of your struggle. Faith isn't the denial of pain. It's the decision to trust in spite of it. It's saying, I don't understand it, but I'll still believe. I don't see the way, but I'll still walk. That's real faith. When you move while you're still hurting, when you praise while you're still bleeding, when you give thanks in the middle of the fire. Maybe you've been praying, Lord, take me out of this. But sometimes He doesn't take you out. He joins you in it. Like a potter at the wheel, He keeps His hands on you while the clay spins, pressing, shaping, stretching, until His image begins to show. The spinning isn't punishment, it's process. And process always comes before purpose. You can't rush the process. Growth takes time. You might be hidden right now, But hidden doesn't mean forgotten. Even a seed, before it becomes a tree, spends a season buried where nobody sees it. But while it's buried, it's breaking open. Something is happening under the soil. Roots are forming, strength is building, life is emerging. Don't curse your hidden season. You're not stuck, you're being secured. God won't expose you until you're ready to handle the weight of the blessing. Because what good is elevation if you don't have the roots to hold it? The people who walked away, they were part of the pruning. The opportunities that slipped through your fingers, they were never meant to stay. The storm that blew through your life, it wasn't to destroy the house, it was to test the foundation. And look at you. You're still standing. You might be bruised, but you're still breathing. You might be weary, but you're still here. There's a resilience in you that the trial couldn't take. Every time life tried to push you down, something in you said, I will rise. That's the power of faith working through pain. The very pressure that was meant to crush you is producing oil. The oil of wisdom, the oil of endurance, the oil of purpose. You see, transformation isn't a single moment. It's a continual becoming. You're evolving through every challenge. The same version of you that cried in the last season won't survive in this one. Because you're being transformed from the inside out. You're learning that peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of perspective. You're learning that strength isn't loud. Sometimes it looks like quiet perseverance. You're learning that victory isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up with a testimony in your mouth and a fire in your soul. And when you look back, you'll realize the pain was your teacher. The lessons you learned in loss became the wisdom that carries you in success. The people who left showed you how to stand on your own. The doors that closed taught you how to knock on heaven's door instead. So keep walking, keep believing, keep holding on. You are not behind, you are right on schedule. The delay is not denial, it's divine timing. When the right moment comes, everything that felt wasted will make sense. The same God who brought light out of darkness is bringing purpose out of your pain. He's already written the next chapter, and it's better than the one you lost. So lift your head, square your shoulders, take a deep breath and tell yourself, it had to happen. It was painful, but it was purposeful. It was heavy, but it was holy. Because when you finally step into what He's been preparing, you'll realize every detour led you directly to destiny. You've cried your tears, but those tears were never wasted. Every drop watered the soil of your destiny. Every no you faced, every season you thought would break you, was quietly birthing a yes that will change your future. When you look at your life right now, you might see fragments, broken dreams, unanswered prayers, pieces that don't seem to fit. But God is the master artist. He knows how to take shattered pieces and turn them into stained glass. He's building something beautiful out of what you thought was beyond repair. You keep saying, I can't see the purpose. But maybe you're not supposed to see it yet. Maybe you're supposed to trust it. Because faith doesn't require understanding. It requires surrender. It's in the moments when you say, I don't get it, but I'll still trust you, that heaven moves on your behalf. Do you remember how a butterfly begins? It starts as something ordinary, crawling, unseen, limited. Then, at the appointed time, it enters the cocoon. That dark, confined space feels like death. Everything the caterpillar knew disappears. But inside that darkness, transformation is happening. When the season is right, what went in crawling comes out flying. And maybe that's where you are. In the cocoon of process. It's dark, it's tight, it's uncomfortable, but it's not the end. You're in transition. You're evolving. God is getting ready to reveal a version of you that could only come through pressure. Don't try to escape what's making you grow. Don't rush what's still forming. The same process that feels like isolation is actually incubation. Something great is being born in you. You've been asking, when will it happen? When will the promise come to pass? But before God brings you into it, He'll make sure what's in you can sustain it. Because it's one thing to receive a blessing. It's another to carry it. That's why He's building strength, character, and endurance in you right now. You can't get oil without pressing. You can't get wine without crushing. You can't get resurrection without a cross. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this producing in me? Because if it's producing patience, it's worth it. If it's producing faith, it's worth it. If it's producing wisdom, it's worth it. One day you'll look back and say, if I hadn't been rejected, I wouldn't have found my direction. If I hadn't been broken, I wouldn't have learned to lean on God. If I hadn't lost everything, I wouldn't have discovered who I truly am. You may not see the full picture yet, but the author does. He's already written your ending, and spoiler alert, you win. The pain is not permanent, the promise is. The struggle is temporary. The strength it's producing will last forever. Sometimes God will let the enemy touch your situation, but not your soul. The fire may surround you, but it won't consume you. The flood may rise, but it won't drown you. You're still here because there's something in you that's greater than what's against you. You've been through enough to quit, but you didn't. You've faced enough heartbreak to harden your heart, but you still love. You've seen enough loss to lose hope, but you still believe. That's not weakness, that's resilience. That's evidence that grace has been holding you the whole time. The same God who carried you through that last storm is the same God who's guiding you through this one. And when you come out, not if you come out, but when you're going to carry a new strength, a new peace, a new fire, because you can't go through what you've gone through and come out the same. You're being refined. You're being upgraded. You're being prepared for a weight of glory you haven't even imagined yet. So stand tall. This is not your defeat. This is your development. This is not your ending. This is your emergence. Every setback was setting you up for a comeback. Every valley was a setup for a higher mountain. And when you rise, when you finally walk in what you were made for, you'll understand why the pain was necessary. You'll understand why that friendship ended, why that job fell through, why that season had to shift. You'll say with confidence, it had to happen, because if it didn't, I wouldn't be who I am. You'll walk into rooms you once prayed about. You'll see the fruit of every tear you cried. You'll carry a testimony that reminds others if God could do it for me, He can do it for you. Or the very thing that tried to bury you will become the platform that lifts you. The same storm that tried to drown you will wash away everything that was never meant to stay. You're not being buried. You're being planted. And when the right season comes, you'll rise with roots deep enough to withstand anything, and branches wide enough to give shade to others who are still struggling. Hold on. The night won't last forever. Morning is coming, and when the sun rises, you'll see that every dark place was part of your preparation. You've been in the valley long enough to start wondering if the mountain was only a dream. But every valley has an exit, and you're closer to yours than you think. What you feel right now isn't failure, it's labor. It's the final push before the birth. The ground that felt barren is beginning to tremble. Something is moving beneath the surface. The season that tried to bury you is about to witness your bloom. You thought you were finished, but the truth is, you were being fashioned. There's a shift taking place. You can feel it in your spirit before you see it with your eyes. The same hands that allowed the breaking are the hands that will lift you. The same voice that called you into the storm is the voice that's calling you forward. Don't waste time trying to rebuild what God already replaced. What's ahead of you is not a repeat of what's behind you. The next chapter isn't a continuation. It's a new beginning. The hurt that once held you down has no authority in this season. It taught you, it changed you, but it cannot claim you. You survived what others couldn't handle. You endured nights that should have shattered you. You prayed through pain that didn't make sense. That's proof that purpose is alive in you. Purpose always outlives pressure. Now is the time to rise. You've learned to walk by faith when the path was invisible. Now you'll learn to run with confidence when the doors open. The same fire that tested you will light your way. You won't recognize yourself when this is over. The fear that used to silence you will become your testimony. The rejection that wounded you will become your wisdom. The isolation that crushed you will become your intimacy with the divine. This next season will not just restore what you lost. It will reveal what you gained. You gained strength. You gained clarity. You gained a deeper trust in something greater than yourself. And that trust is the key that unlocks every door the pain once closed. Look around. Everything may still look the same, but you are not the same. You are carrying a new resilience, a quiet confidence that comes from surviving what should have ended you. You are living proof that endurance works. So when the next wave rises, you won't panic. You'll remember that you've already been through fire and didn't burn. You've already been through floods and didn't drown. You'll remember that every loss made room for new life. That's the moment transformation becomes visible. When you stop seeing your story as something that happened to you and start seeing it as something happening through you. The pain was a teacher, the process was a classroom, and grace was the lesson plan. You'll begin to notice that what used to break you now builds you. What used to scare you now sends you. What used to make you question your worth now reminds you of it. Because every scar on your soul has turned into a signature of strength. You may still be waiting for the big breakthrough, but the real breakthrough has already happened inside you. You stopped running from the struggle and started learning from it. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and started asking, "What now?" That's transformation. And once transformation starts, nothing can stop it. Not doubt, not delay, not detours. What's been planted in you will come forth in its appointed time. Every setback was secretly a setup. Every disappointment was divine direction. You're about to step into a space where your old pain becomes someone else's healing, where the lessons you learned in silence become the words that lift others. That's how purpose multiplies. It doesn't stay with you, it flows through you. So take a breath, lift your eyes. The worst is over, and the best is awakening. You've endured the storm, now you're ready for the sunrise. You've been prepared in private for a victory that will be seen in public. The moment you say, "I understand, it had to happen," you release the weight of regret and step fully into the power of redemption. You're no longer defined by what broke you. You're defined by what built you. You've been walking through darkness long enough to know the shape of your own shadow. But dawn is breaking. You can feel it rising behind the hills of everything that hurt you. The same ground that once held your tears will soon echo with the sound of your laughter. This is the moment the story turns. The waiting, the breaking, the questions, they all converge here. You can almost hear the rhythm of your own resilience beating like a drum inside your chest. It's telling you to get up. It's telling you that you made it. Every voice that said you were finished underestimated the quiet power that carried you. You are standing on the proof that pain can't cancel purpose. The fire didn't consume you, it refined you. The storm didn't sink you, it revealed you. Look at you now, standing where you once fell, breathing where you once broke. You are the evidence that endurance works. You are living testimony that grace is stronger than grief. You are what survival looks like when it turns into purpose. Now is the time to speak life into your own soul. Tell yourself, "I'm still here." Say it again until the words start to sound like worship. You are here because what was meant to bury you became the soil that grew you. Lift your eyes. What's coming is not random, it's redemption. Everything you learned in the shadows will shine in the light. The compassion born out of your own pain will heal others. The strength you found in silence will steady someone else's shaking hands. Don't shrink back now. Walk boldly into the new season. The same courage that kept you moving in the dark will carry you through the open door. And when you cross that threshold, you'll realize that the old fear has no authority here. This is your release moment. The weight is lifting, the chains are loosening. The story is unfolding exactly as it should. You are stepping into a chapter written by victory itself. So breathe deep. Let gratitude rise where grief once lived. Let purpose speak where confusion once shouted. Let peace reign where pain once ruled. Everything you went through, every detour, every disappointment, every sleepless night, was shaping the version of you that could handle this blessing, this calling, this clarity. You've been pressed, but now you pour. You've been broken, but now you bless. You've been stretched, but now you stand. And when people ask how you survived, you'll smile and say, "It had to happen." Because it was never just pain, it was preparation. Never just loss, it was launch. Never just the end, it was evolution. So walk forward with your head high, your heart open, and your spirit ready. The storm is over. The seed has sprouted. The promise is alive. What once felt like the end has become the beginning of something holy, something strong, something unstoppable. It had to happen, and now it's happening. So now, as you stand on the other side of what once seemed impossible, take a moment and breathe it in. Every scar, every setback, every season of silence, it all served a purpose. You didn't just survive, you became. The pain that once made you question everything has now become the proof that you can endure anything. The doors that closed pushed you toward the ones that were meant for you. The people who left made room for those who were destined to walk with you. And the tears that fell in the dark watered the soil of your future. You are no longer who you were when the struggle began. You are wiser now, stronger now, more grounded now. And though the path wasn't easy, it was necessary. Because without it, you wouldn't carry the depth, the gratitude, or the power you walk in today. So as you move forward, don't carry regret. Carry revelation. Don't dwell on what broke. Celebrate what bloomed. Stand tall in the truth that everything that was meant to harm you became the very thing that helped you grow. And when you look back over your life, when you see how every piece finally fits together, you'll smile through the memory and whisper to yourself, it had to happen. Because through it all, purpose was being born. And that is how pain prepares you for destiny.